Hello to my air signs Libra, Aquarius and Gemini. Welcome to the Scorpio full moon. You'll find the timestamps for your rising signs listed below. Hello Libra Rising, welcome to your reading for the Scorpio full moon. How are you? Are you okay? How has everything been feeling for you for the past month since last I spoke to you? Were the eclipses helpful? Were they fruitful in some way? And if they weren't, I've got your full back and we can work with this now, because this Scorpio full moon is one that we can trust. It's been a month of instability. It's been a month of real kind of tension, and there's been so much focus on wounding, and things have been brought to our very eyes, things that we've been maybe hiding for a time that we've had to look at, and we're processing it now. Coming up, Mercury is going to station direct as well. So amidst all of that chaos, we've got to remember that Mercury was retrograde in Aries too. So that just added to the confusion. So this moon brings with it a lot of release, so much release. And hopefully we can find a place, Libra Rising, where you can be proud of yourself as well. Scorpio on your birth chart is your second house of your resources, your money, your coin, what you do with it, how you use it, what your values are, where they lay. And a full moon that we can trust encourages us to release and to sort of put our chest out into the sky and to give it away, give it out, feel it. Maybe you're one of the people that has been feeling a lack of feeling. That could be something that we can work with in this reading as well, because I know there's been a lot of people that have been unable to fully kind of register their emotions and what's been running through them. 1 foot heavily in reality, we must understand that the growing tension, the tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy that is being shown to us here in Australia specifically just this last week has been rife with tragedy. And it's been difficult for the system to kind of take it. You know, there's only so much trauma that one can experience and process until the body just shuts down, and we cope. And if we're going to use the astrology as an invitation to recalibrate and to excavate, as Scorpio wants to do, they're incredibly emotionally intense. Maybe this is the time that we get to be a little bit emotionally intense and we get to let out some of those feelings. Maybe some of that is pride. Maybe you've been working really hard and really diligently at something behind the scenes, and you can finally feel that work and feel that pride, feel that accomplishment amidst all of the other things that we're contending with. Part of the astrology this week, in fact, I think I'm releasing them on the day that this occurs, is a profound moment that I'd love to share with you. I'd love to kind of name it as well as something hopeful. It's a conjunction between the planet Jupiter and the planet Uranus. And so Jupiter brings with it growth and hope and encouragement. And Uranus brings with it rebellion and revolution and strategy. And so you can see when they're both together, there's something encouraging about your rebellion, about your rebellious spirit that we can speak to. The reason that it's pertinent is because it doesn't happen all the time. It actually takes about 14 years for these two planets to find themselves again in the zodiac. And it's sort of depending on what sign it is, it depends on how long it takes them to move through at their own pace, each sign. So it takes roughly about 14 years for them to come together. So in this reading, to start it off, before we speak further about Scorpio and we go to those depths, I'd like for you to cast your mind gently back to the year 2010, leading into 2011, because this was the last time that Jupiter and Uranus came into contact. It happened 3 times back then. So it was something to do with their retrograde motion. So it was fortuitous that there would be 3 conjunctions exactly of Jupiter and Uranus in a matter of 8 months. And on your birth chart, it was speaking about a revolution or a rebellion, a stepping away from the convention of your servitude, your rhythm, the repetition of your work, leading and informing your relationships. So Pisces is your repetition, your grind, your service. This was where the revolution began back in 2010. That peppered and flavored the way that you relate to other people, your relationship styles, the rebelliousness of those things, those qualities. That's a big story to find its crescendo and to find its closure at this moment. It's kind of like a really heavy page turning a chapter over in order for us to start another one. And the interesting thing is on your birth chart, this new chapter that we're beginning, this new encouragement to rebel, to revolutionize, is in Taurus, in your 8th house of your most intimate contracts. The 8th house has a definition that sort of moves. Some folks like to think about finances. They like to think about mergers, conjunctions of resources, how you rely on other people's money, how they rely on yours, how you commit to one another financially. We can speak to things of inheritance if that's accessible to us. It's not for everyone. So yeah, that's not a reality for a lot of people. This idea of one generation bestowing its wealth to the next. It's actually quite rare. The way that I look at the 8th house has its connection to emotional intensity. It's a contract, and this could be a soul contract that we could start to talk about. It's something about our absolute investment in the energy of somebody else or other people. And so looking at this new chapter, Libra Rising, this new start, this encouragement from Jupiter and this rebellion from Uranus, we're moving into a really beautiful 14-year story for you about the ways in which you revolutionize wealth, where your money goes, where your commitment, your bonds go, how you write those bonds, how you invest yourself in them. There's a room for development too, because this conjunction, it happens exactly today, but it's a story that's going to unfold for the next 14 years. It's hopeful. A lot of people are really looking forward to it. And I think that it's really pertinent that it's happening at this time where we also get to have this full moon in your 2nd house of your individual resources, your hard-earned, your blood, your sweat, your tears, what you've built for yourself. There's pride to be experienced, to be felt in that area for you, Libra Rising. There's emotion flowing in that area right now. It's been so difficult for so many at this time. And what this conjunction, this story in the astrology looks to me like, if we use the tarot, that you've been able to draw from your experiences of grief and your experiences of dejection, of rejection, that road that you've traveled in this life where perhaps money was tight, or perhaps affection was limited, or perhaps you had to grow up too quickly, and you were the caregiver of your caregivers, or perhaps that's something that you're experiencing now, that you have become the caregiver to your caregivers. This is all happening in some sort of rhythm. It's happening for you to, one, regain a sense of autonomy over your own life. It's happening for the other reason of you to be able to register and to really feel the intensity of your emotional body, the way that you connect with other people or yearn for it. It's also working for me in a really beautiful story that from here on in, you're fucking in charge. The next 14 years are going to prove that to you, that rebellion that you had to instigate or instill in your life. You know, it's with you in some way. It's informing your choices and it's informing your success too. And probably a lot of this Chiron wounding speaks to a lot of these cards. You know, this is the sun and the moon right now, just in this moment. You know, the moon, you know, has us all kind of purging on the monthly. It's a moment in time that we're looking at these two cards together, but it's a moment of commonality. I fully respect you in this moment, Libra Rising. I fully respect where you've come from and what you've had to believe. You know, Jupiter's really great at encouraging us to keep the faith. And it seems to me that you have, and that you will, and that the past is part of our story, you know. It's what we do with those experiences and how we commit to excavating them and registering how they've coloured our impulses and our reactions to the outside world, registering how they've informed our pain too, but registering that, working with it, and creating something else out of it. I'm sure that you're a great person to be in relationship with, Libra Rising. I'm sure you've got a lot of love to give. I'm sure that you give it in a free-flowing way. A couple of hours after this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, Venus, your guiding light, will be exactly conjunct Chiron in Aries in your 7th house. So all of this excavation, all of this deep, hard, painful work that we've been doing for the past month during eclipse season is reaching its point of salve. It's reaching its point of sweetness. You look to Venus to guide you, right? And Venus is in conjunction with Chiron in your 7th house. We're going to start healing. We're going to remember that you're worthy of love. Remember that you've got so much love to give. Remember that you've structured your life these days in a way that accommodates your individual focus and your boundaries and your needs, and also leaves a great big garden fence open to receive love and affection from other people. So for that, I'm really proud of you, Libra Rising. There's another card that's sort of coming into focus at the moment, just at this moon. So it's a moment in time. It is speaking to Pluto in Aquarius. And so we're back to your 5th house of your self-expression, your creativity, your artistry. Pluto being the one that is about to set a brush fire through that area to get rid of everything that's unnecessary in order for new things to grow there. There's also a story that's being told here about repetitious thoughts and about the ways that we speak to ourselves. And sometimes that moment we can actually, the only moment that we're allowed to be cruel to ourselves, or not cruel, but abrupt, is to be like, you know what? Shut the fuck up. You've told me time and time and time again that I'm not worth anything, that I'm stupid, that I can't do it. And I'm proving you wrong right now. And I'm proving you wrong, and I'm telling you to shut up and give me some space. So in that emotional upswell that the full moon in Scorpio might bring with it, encouraging you to feel it, there might be something in there latent, you know. And it's just these cards that are asking me to speak to that story, because that embedded trauma, that past, you know, we carry it with us. We do our work, we heal, we you know, move forward. It informs us to do better. It informs us to keep our hearts open, doesn't it? And I'm not a numerologist. In fact, I know very little, but I do know that whenever it's 5:55 on the clock, I get a bit excited because I know that means change. And I think that this full moon in Scorpio is bringing with it some grand change. I think the conjunction with Uranus and with Jupiter is encouraging some innovation and some change. So chalk it up at this full moon in Scorpio, Libra Rising. Look at your hard work. Look at your resources. You don't have to sort of count, you know, how much cash is in the bank or anything like that, but look how you've been able to take care of yourself. by using your strengths, by working with your strengths. And pat yourself on the effing back. Couple more things. I won't bore you with the astrology. I've written down so many notes, but I'm just flowing. That suits me better that way. But I will say that Venus will enter Taurus on the 29th of this month of April. And so Venus, being in its home sign in Taurus, is going to further expand upon those topics around investment and connection and collaboration and grief, all of that huge 8th house stuff. There's going to be some sweetness there. After Venus has tended to Chiron, she will enter into her home base. And so as a Libra rising, you'll probably feel that sort of, it will feel something sturdier than maybe it's been feeling. Venus in Aries is kind of difficult because they're not in their home base. They're opposite to where they normally should be. And so more instability, But come May, we've got some clearing, there's some clarity here. And this moon, there she is. Whatever comes out and whatever is being activated for you in your sensuality. Scorpio is a lot of things. It's very sexy. That's one thing to think about. I know that not everyone has a relationship or has a sexuality. The aces amongst us can testify to that fact. But what I'm looking at here is maybe sensuality, maybe intimacy, because the hermit has taken themselves away because there's things to do. There's been a moment where no distractions are required, are really necessary in order to open up their channel and to sort of get everything done and to sort of really, really start to sort of embody those spiritual lessons. But there's love waiting, there's connection waiting. That's the lovers right there if you can't see it. And so looking at these cards, there's a bit of a Pisces, Gemini, Virgo story. It doesn't have to be any of those signs though. You can see, thinking about the moon, where it's at right now, thinking about Scorpio, thinking about the encouragement to feel it. Maybe it's a moment, just you and yourself. But it's a moment to set tools down just for a minute, if you can at all bear it, and to reconnect with the other, a lover, yourself, your heart, your feelings. You've been doing such a great job to hold it all together, Libra rising, and we congratulate you. Take this moment, and whatever's been kicked up, whatever dust has been kicked up, whatever pain points are present, I got you, babe, it's all right. It's part of us, It's part of us, and it's our job to not let our past stop us from the pleasures of life, from love, from connection, from all of those gorgeous feelings that a Libra so wants to have happen in their lives. That's your reading. I hope that was all right, Libra rising. If you're still here with me, throw a scorpion in the comments in honor of the Scorpio full moon, and let me know. I'm doing a bit of market research. I do a lot of sort of writing and research, and I sort of plan out what I might talk about in what days of the week leading up between the moons and things when all of this astrology is happening. Let's face it, it's been pretty hectic the last couple of months. There's been lots of activations and lots of movement and tension. And so I've tried to be as articulate as I can with the astrology. I've found in these readings, I've just sort of like let that happen, but then just say what I sort of need to say. Let me know if you need more specifics in the astrological language. Let me know if you need more tarot. Let me know if you're happy with the way everything is. But just give me some feedback on how you've been enjoying my work so far. If this is your first reading, that's also open to you. Let me know how you like it or not. Yeah, I'd really appreciate that. If you'd like me to draw your birth chart, they look like this. You can make an appointment with me via Zoom on my website, Uma Ruby. You can book yourself in a place with me and I'll draw you a chart and read it to you and talk about what tarot cards have been with you since your birth. If I have read for you before and you'd like to organize another reading, head to the Back for More tab and you can choose a truth, growth, love, magic, or femme reading. Maybe there's a title in those topics that you might want to further investigate. There's a little ritual for each of them, and we talk about the current transits of the astrology, how they're affecting your chart, and we'll pull some cards together and I tell you a story with them as well. So I look forward to seeing you. I'll be back with you to speak about the new moon in Taurus, which is quite a potent seed, quite literally. Taurus has got lovely topics around growth and fecundity, and a new moon in Taurus is always great room for growth. So let's look forward to that. Let's register what we've been through. Let's register what the world is currently going through. Let's hold our hearts and hands and souls, and let's be with one another, and let's weather this and pray for peace and move forward together. I love you, Libra Rising. Thank you for being here. Hello, Aquarius Rising. Welcome to your reading for the Scorpio full moon. First of all, how are you? Are you okay? Are you fighting fit? How was eclipse season? I know it's been a little while since last we had a reading, and well, I'll tell you about me. From my personal experience, I found this eclipse period to be very confronting. I think that the conversations around Chiron and deeper wounding and the opportunity to look at and address these wounds that are latent from long ago really came to the surface for me. I think obviously one foot heavily in reality. The events of the past few weeks have been highly, highly tragic and triggering, and it's been really a moment to kind of register the reality of the situation. This is all well and good and a great tool to give our lives some context. It's also warranted and granted to, when feeling overwhelmed, to be okay with that and to understand why the litany of tragedy here in this country, in Australia, on its own has been monumental. There's been many wins of justice and many examples of injustice as well. A lot of survivors of sexual violence have been feeling vindicated but also insulted at the behaviour of our governing systems and our media. And there has been polarity of opinion and thought around those topics too. There's also been some real acts of senseless violence that have occurred and continue to occur here as well. So I just wanted to sort of register the reality of the vulnerability right now. This isn't to say that the eclipses caused any of this stuff. That's not the way that astrology works. It can work as a mirror for us to give ourselves a moment to breathe and a moment to reflect. So that's what I intend to do with this reading moving forward. For you, we're looking at Scorpio for this full moon. But before we get there, I wanted to just make mention of a beautiful configuration in our galaxy that's actually happening today, I think, if I get these out in time. It's rare. It's a conjunction between the planet Jupiter and the planet Uranus, who you are actually quite familiar with. Uranus, Aquarius Rising, it's one of the planets that helps to guide you along. It's one of the modern planets that holds influence for your sign. Jupiter speaks about hope and growth and encouragement. And Uranus speaks about rebellion and revolution and invention. So when those two come together, you can see that there's a feeling, a grander feeling of encouragement to revolutionize, encouragement to change the current system in order to have it work better or to have it expand. The last time that Jupiter and Uranus came into contact was in 2010. And it lasted, there was 3 conjunctions, which was very specific for the time. It was something to do with their finally meeting up, but then also the retrograde station, and then meeting up again, and then meeting up again. It was very specific to 2010 and 2011. The first conjunction happened at 0 degrees of Aries, and then the second 2 conjunctions happened in Pisces, the later degrees of Pisces. And so maybe thinking about your life in 2010, thinking about what spurred you on way back when. What were you discovering about yourself? What were you being encouraged or urged to follow, which maybe felt different to what was expected of you perhaps, or what was presented to you in life? Think about the evolution of your rebel, of your rebellious spirit. Think about how that spirit's been with you and how it's helped you and aided you through this life up to this very moment. Think about this moment as a closing of a chapter, a really heavy page in your life that began, a story that began in 2010, 2011, and is now coming to its close in order to start a brand new book. On your birth chart, the last conjunctions were occurring in your 2nd house and your 3rd house. So in the ways in which you resource yourself, and also in the ways in which you engage in your village, your language. The conjunction that's happening now is in your 4th house, your home, your ancestral roots, your privacy. What this looks like to me, Aquarius Rising, is that we're at the very beginning of a revolution, of a rebranding about possibly where you live, possibly the way that you relate to your ancestry, your bloodlines. And for the next 14 years, there's going to be an immense encouragement and optimism in order for you to change up or reframe that lineage, that story, that the younger version of us, that rebel, is quite obvious, isn't it? The rebel that begins right now has had the experience of the last conjunction. It's really something that we've been waiting for, this moment of hope. Maybe when you think about where you live or your home, how that's structured, maybe when I say topics around revolution or restructuring, it might excite you in a way. There might be something about this sort of journey that you've been on, about looking for a place to land or looking for a place to call your own, a place to fully unwind and fully relax. There could be issues around your ancestry or stories around those topics, around the way that you were raised or the experiences that you had in those environments that should be safe, so it should be protective, that the rebel in you is ready and being encouraged to face and to name and to resolve. Whichever way you slice it, it's a moment to remark upon. It's bright, and it could be optimistic. It could be really hopeful. Let's have a look at the moon. So Scorpio is your 10th house. It's your most public-facing self, the brightest part of you, the top of your chart. So where access all areas, your vocation. Scorpio is incredibly intense emotionally. So to have a Scorpio placement in the 10th house, it sort of speaks to the essence of your work, that sort of excavational sort of quality that might be a subject in your vocation, A full moon encourages us to let things go or let it out. So if it's been difficult at work, if it's been very difficult in your sort of feelings around public perception, if all of this mania and trauma of the outside world has been really getting you down, remember, this is a moon that we can trust. So every emotion that comes up, I would really highly encourage you to really create a soft nest in your home. Looking at Taurus, that's where the sun is too, okay? So wherever you are at present, make that place comfortable, make it a place to land, make it really encouraging for you to feel what you need to feel. Scorpio is excavating those emotions that perhaps had to be set to the side over the past month or so. So let that out. The sun and the moon are at 4 degrees of each sign. So they are forming, it's not exact, but it is a square. It is pressure with Pluto in your first house in Aquarius. So the tarot cards that I've pulled out just to describe that, and we'll go gently, I think. I don't want to trigger anything. But the thing about tarot is it's kind of, they're beautiful images for us all to remark upon and to recall and to recollect that these things happen to all of us. These sorts of feelings, whether that be grief, loss, sorrow, rejection, ostracization, they play out in all of our lives in some capacity. When the astrology hits these marker points, I'm encouraged to bring them out and just to have a chat about them. And I think probably at what better time that these two cards, difficult as they both really are, powerful as they both really are, now feels like the right kind of time to make mention of them. There's a lot of triggers that I can feel at present. In fact, even in the media, even in television. By chance, I watched a program on TV called Baby Reindeer very recently. And as much as I appreciated it and admired it, I was unprepared for the intensity of the subject matter of that program. And it really triggered me and my own experiences quite sincerely at a time when I was at capacity, when I couldn't, in fact, feel anything but discomfort. And it took me watching this show, of which I probably won't watch it again, but it was a moment for me to dislodge something. It was a moment for me to re-examine my Chiron wounding, the pain points, and to register them. This recollection of 2010 to now is a long period of time, and it is peppered with lots of this for me. And so as hopeful and optimistic as I feel about the revolution that Uranus is encouraging with Jupiter at its back, it has been a process to retrace those steps and to go over different moments in life, different periods of time where I have experienced these two cards very sincerely in that particular pocket of time. And so now that the eclipses are clear, I feel that I'm available to my emotions. The other card that I've got out here on the table is the Five of Swords. So this is Pluto in Aquarius in this moment. And so remember, the swords, separate to the other two cards, are about our minds, our thoughts, our intellect, perhaps what things have been said to us, what we're being presented with. And so what I like to look at constructively with these three cards for you, Aquarius Rising, is a great pictorial of doing some deeper work, hopefully in counselling, hopefully with someone registered who you can trust, but a great journey to pass out and pick apart some of these triggers and to continue our lifelong journey to heal them. Yeah. So that's the moon. Let's get you some other tarot cards. So let's see what what comes out right now. I might use the crows, I think. But yeah, things are looking up. Things are really looking up. And I hope that you can feel that too, Aquarius Rising. It is amidst the sea of tension and of aggression and violence that we're submitted to in this moment. The astrology is lighting a candle of hope. It's very, very bright indeed. So let's have a look. Oh, also, FYI, one more thing. You'll be happy to know that the day after this full moon, Mercury will station direct as well. So all of that confusion is finally finding its slipstream, and there's room for this information to flow in a freer sort of way. There might be even more revelation that we are presented with that makes sense of the current moment. So yeah, that's just another thing to look forward to as well. So I've got all royal family. In the center of this reading, I've got the Page of Wands. So we'll start with this central feeling. This is someone who was kind of born with it, as far as their access to magic and to passion. There's something incredibly creative and incredibly knowledgeable about this young person. I say young, it could just be of spirit, it doesn't have to be of age. But you understand, how sometimes you meet someone and you're sort of like, wow, that's just really flowing through you. That's sort of been with you since birth. That's really unaffected. There's something maybe limited in sort of the finesse of skill here with this person, but the truth of the matter is this is really flowing through them. There's something really present about this individual right here in the center. They're being flanked by two others. One of them is the Queen of Pentacles, who is our earthbound, loving, nurturing feeder. There's something that feels really protective and really patient about this individual. On the other side, it's the King of Swords. So someone incredibly smart, that has a great access to their mind, great problem-solving strategies. They're actually really good with the mind. The King of Swords can often represent a psychologist or a psychiatrist, someone in that sort of profession, someone who understands the workings of the brain, neuroscience, those sorts of things. The reason I probably say psychiatrist is the bedside manner is maybe not so great. there's a great understanding of the grey matter itself, or the problem itself, but their skill does not lie so much in the nurturing. And that's where this Queen of Pentacles really comes into play. I'm going to get one more card. Okay, so I got the Hierophant, which in this reading will represent Taurus. This is the card that speaks to the whole, the encapsulating energy of Taurus. So I'm going to come back down to your fourth house. In company with these two individuals, there's someone who I dare say might be you, Aquarius Rising, who is going to come back into friendship with their younger self, with the parts of them that were free-flowing when magic felt real. And this journey back through the last 14 years has shown us where those tarnishes started to occur. But this is very private. This feels like home. And so with the help of this person who's incredibly adept at explaining and assessing the mind and perhaps the way that our neural pathways have been long trodden. That's one side of the support. The other side of the support is a real earthiness, a real grounded, nurturing kind of feeling. So with those two principles in action, this fourth house of yours, this root system, this sense of belonging is going to start to reemerge for you, and you're going to feel accepted in ways that perhaps have been separate for some time. Looking at the Hierophant for what it is, there's something of a channel here, a bridge between that world and this world. So if there's sort of healing to be done from far, far back, perhaps from where your blood came from, then by working with an equal mix of someone who is adept at the mind and someone who is grounded in the earth, you're going to reignite your magic, because I feel that it's been limited in some capacity, and perhaps these eclipses unearthed more that we can speak of. But it's just in this moment, it's all well and good to unearth it. And, Scorpio does do a lot of digging too. It's all well and good to unearth these things. It's what we do with the evidence after that really makes the difference. How do we move forward from here, and not move forward as in leaving it behind, but how do we incorporate this knowledge into our livelihood, into our lived experience from here on in? So this feels like really deep work for you, and it feels like a bit of a revolution too. Perhaps we can take this moment with grace and with gratitude. We can accept this. The 21st of April was the moment that I was encouraged to revolutionize my relationship with my ancestors. Much love to you, Aquarius Rising. Big stuff. Huge. Good work. If you're still here with me, put a scorpion in the comments for me in honor of the full moon, and let me know. I just would love some feedback. You're my core audience, my beautiful folks that listen to me horoscope in, horoscope out. If you can at all find the time, I'd just like to get your perspective on what interests you most. I've got 15 minutes for you each fortnight for the full new moon and full moon. Do you like the astrological ins and outs? Do you prefer the tarot? Are you happy with the way that I link them together? I do labor away at writing everything down and sort of figuring out the conjunctions and what's happening, in the lead up and in the galaxy. But oftentimes I do find that I just sort of enter the reading and say what needs to be said from where I see it. So just some feedback would be great, because I'm happy to amp up the astro talk if that's what you need. Anyhow, if you'd like me to read your birth chart, I can draw you one. They look like that. You can head to my website, umaruby.com, and make an appointment with me. Pick the spirit reading if it's your first time. If I have read for you before and you'd like to see me again, head to the Back for More tab, and you can choose a truth, a magic, a growth, a love, or a femme reading. So think about the topics. Each journey has a little ritual that we spend together. I look at the astrology, how it's relating to your chart, how the current sky is speaking to your chart right now. But then we go a little bit deeper and we pick some tarot together and I read it to you. So if there's something that interests you in there, if there's a topic that you'd like to know more about, if that's love, if you need to know the truth, if you need a bit of magic, have a think about it and pick the right one. I'll be with you. Tips are always very much appreciated at buymeacoffee.com too. The link's in my description below. Much love to you. I'll speak to you for the Taurus new moon on the 8th of May. So in the lead up to that, I'll be with you again. Let me know. Give me your feedback. I'd love that. Fill out this survey. Bye, Aquarius Rising. Hello, Gemini Rising. Welcome to your reading for the Scorpio full moon. First of all, how are you? How has eclipse season been for you? How are you recalibrating after the experiences that we've all been living through for this past month? I'd like to remind you and invite you to work with this upcoming moon. It's happening on the 24th of April at 9:51 a.m. if you're down here in Australia with me. Night before is great. The night of is great too. Doesn't matter. Get underneath the full moon next week as soon as it feels right for you, and allow the emotion to do its work, because this is a moon that we can trust, and we haven't had one for about a month. And so for some of us that do regulate and do recalibrate with the moon and with its cycles, eclipses can dysregulate that. And so some of us have been finding it a little bit difficult to process our emotions or gain access to the way that we feel. And obviously with one foot heavily in reality, the pain of the current moment globally has put some of us into something that feels like a fight or flight response. It's triggering to witness continually such pain and such aggression and such violence. And some ways that the body does cope with that is to shut down. And so if we look to this moon in Scorpio, a sign that's incredibly deep, incredibly sensual, incredibly exploratory, that wishes to dig and to sort of reveal and to dredge up our emotions, then this would be the time to do it. If you feel safe enough. I think that I do. I'm looking forward to it. Before this happens, though, we'll get to Scorpio and we'll get to what house that is for you in a minute. But the day that I'm releasing these, hopefully, is the 21st of April. This is the day that the planet Jupiter and the planet Uranus, Uranus, whatever you, yeah, I say Uranus now. They come together, and it's specific to this moment. It takes about 14 years for Jupiter and Uranus to find one another. The last time that they came together was in 2010, leading into 2011. And when it happens, there's encouragement from Jupiter, there's hope from Jupiter, and there's growth from Jupiter in the way that we rebel from Uranus, and we revolutionize our lives from Uranus too. When they come together, it's hopeful revolution. Thinking back to 2010, leading into 2011, it was happening 3 times, which was specific for that period of history. It was something to do with the planets moving retrograde and then meeting up again, and then again. It was 3 times over a period of 8 months that they came into exact conjunction. And they've spanned from the 1st degree of Aries back into Pisces. So I'll say it again, 2010 into 2011. On your birth chart, we're looking at your 11th house and your 10th house. So what I see, humour me, in 2010 leading into 2011, there was something in you, your rebellious spirit, your rebel, was rising to a point that it started to infiltrate and redirect your vocation, your career. What started as seeds grew with such expansion and such optimism from Jupiter that for the next 14 years, it's been colouring and peppering the way that you are publicly perceived and the friends that come with that. It's a really beautiful story, and I hope that you can think back to 2010 with fondness. I hope that there were parts of your mind that were expanded, your horizons expanded, and there were thought forms that you just couldn't shake, that this was actually the way ahead for me. This is what I'm going to do with my life. Now, the poetic, the tragic irony of the whole thing was Chiron had just entered Pisces too. So, there's complexity in this life. But what I like to, the way that I've been looking at this particular conjunction and thinking about my life from 2010 and the burst of activity that happened in 2010 and 2011 for me, and the growth and the travel and the journeying, the creative impulse that I took, the way that I rebelled against what perhaps had been presented to me as a life, and the continual chances that I took to have a life that meant something to me is so powerful. And coming to this moment, having that chapter end, I look back at that part of my life and everything that's happened from then to now. And I look back with thanks and with gratitude. And I also look forward to this new chapter starting in Taurus. So Jupiter and Uranus conjunct in Taurus. On your birth chart, Gemini Rising, that's the 12th house. That's your unconscious world. The rebel spirit is infiltrating and encouraging you to go deeper still. So I wonder what the next 14 years of your life will look like when we think about the rebel in your unconscious mind. It feels really powerful to me, Gemini Rising, and it feels like the grounding blocks, the building blocks, were set up way back when, in 2010 into 2011. That chapter may have finished. This is the new one. So what is that going to look like? And where will that take you in your private work, in the work that is sort of, it's not for public consumption, as the last conjunction was. It was very visible. It was very interactive. This is very private. I like that contrast for you, Gemini Rising, and I wish you well on that journey. So keeping our mind on Taurus, that's where the sun is right now. In direct opposition to that is Scorpio. This is where the moon is. And so this full moon is lighting up your 6th house of repetition, of work, and of service. It just so happens as well that there is a square that's being formed with Pluto in Aquarius. That's all quite confusing, but let me pass it out for you. What this emotional upswell that we can look forward to with this full moon looks like to me on your chart, that there's something about, it feels like a lack of faith, and it feels like finding faith again. Pluto in Aquarius is restructuring your access to your religion, to your faith, to what it is that you believe, what you have long believed, or not. And Pluto is, destroying and regrouping in that place. Uranus is revolutionizing your unconscious reality. The moon is lighting up your 6th house of service. So this feels like deep emotion to me at this full moon, Gemini Rising. It feels like you might unearth and move a lot at this time. And I really encourage you to set the space for it. We're going to work with Taurus. We're going to make sure it's a really comfortable, safe environment for you to be vulnerable. We're going to get the pillows out, doonas, candles, set the space, and really take a moment with this moon, because it's been a while that we've been able to trust it. And that feeling of trust is something that I want to instill and encourage in everyone. I've told everyone in these readings that we can trust this moon. And at a time when it feels like we just can't trust many people, it's so valuable to know that we can trust the moon. So, spirituality, religion, movement, rebellion, lots of different topics coming to the forefront for us to speak about. Some folks might feel in their repetition, in their service, particularly with Scorpio there, that there's something about your active service that is very deep. Perhaps you're engaging in that kind of work, or you're training in that kind of work. You're on the pathway to excavating, helping people excavate to bring something out of themselves that's been latent for a time. So in that, around this full moon, you might find that your work is extra intense. This is specific for some people. Not everybody works in such deep excavation, but that's just something that I wanted to bring out too. This astrology is for us individually. It's also for all of us. So just keep in mind on the full moon, I'll say it again, it's the 24th, which is this Wednesday. And we know the moon, does its thing. So just bear that in mind with your clients, with your study, whatever it is that you're doing around that time. Just bear in mind that it's extra sensitive, and you'll be happy to know as well, as a Gemini rising. I'm gonna get the other middle ones, I think, that the day after this full moon in Scorpio, Mercury will station direct in Aries. Thank heavens for that. So we'll be able to get some clarity after perhaps an extended, protracted period of confusion, on top of all of this tension and combustion of the eclipses. Mercury's been retrograde for all of that time. So it's not been ideal, let's face it. But I'm going to get you some tarot. Yeah, I've written down all of these other aspects and configurations and conjunctions. I think let's just let that steep for the moment. I think that we're all feeling rather tender at present, and so everything in its time and place. Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end. So there's the Five of Cups. This card allows us the moment to grieve. It allows us the moment to wear black and to cry for what we have lost. It gives us the moment to feel our sorrow. It just so happens that the moon is triggering this exact card. I've got it down here too. I feel you, and I wish to sort of stand with you in some sense of solidarity, Gemini rising, if this has been extra present for you. It may not be you personally. You may be witnessing it around you. But the tarot teaches us that in this specific moment, we needn't do anything but wear our black and take the moment to grieve. Yeah, and coming from a place of having to the necessity of your defenses being up, the necessity of your energy needing to be up, of protecting those that you care about, of protecting them from the danger. You tell me how you've been working your magic in order to maintain and to create that barrier. I see salt, I see it in repetition. There's been a real necessity to defend. This moon is inviting you into this space, Gemini rising. If it's just for the night of the full moon, weapons down. And I think that after that, the body needs its rest. The body needs its rest from the overactive mind. Problem solving, strategizing, worrying. I think that all of us will probably experience this full moon and go under for a little while. Perhaps in that going under, it might be a really nice thing to reconnect very gently, very quietly, very privately. Something about this reading feels really public and really broadcast. I think in the moment of necessity that we're living through to honor our grief and to go under, we can, like little mycelium from a mushroom, connect with those that we're thinking of, and just in a simple act of honoring the moment and honoring one another, we'll find that rest comes a little easier. Yeah, heavy, deep work. It's deep work that we're all doing. It's this commitment to hope doesn't come easy. But I'm very proud of you, Gemini Rising, that's your modus operandi. You're committed to hope. You're committed to stepping out and to aiding others in their healing work too. It's a grand gesture. You should be very proud of yourself. So, to cap it off, cry your eyes out at the full moon in Scorpio and allow the clarity to come through in Mercury stations direct the day after. That's enough for this reading, I think. Thank you, Gemini. If you're still here with me in this moment, put a scorpion in the comments in honor of the Scorpio full moon, and just gently, a little market research, but I'd love some feedback on my reading style. If you're new to me or if you've been listening for a while, because I have written all of these transits, all of these specific dates and conjunctions and aspects, and I've got the tarot that relates to this moment in time. I do my research quite diligently. I find that when I get in flow, the reading goes here and there, and I'm just looking to be sure that you're getting what you need from this sort of work. If you need it to be more specific to the astrology, if you need it to be more tarot invested, whatever, just some feedback would be nice, to let me know how you're enjoying what it is that I enjoy doing so dearly. If you'd like me to read your birth chart and I've not met you before, they look like this one over here. You can head to my website, umaruby.com, and book yourself a spirit reading. If I have read for you before and you'd like to see me again, head back to my website, go to the Back for More tab, and you can choose a magic, truth, love, growth, or femme reading. So in those journeys, we consult the astrology, look at where the planets are falling and affecting your chart as it stands in this moment, and then we go on a journey with the tarot. We go back, we go in, and we find the answers that we're looking for. So make your booking. I look forward to seeing you again if it's been a while. Thank you, Gemini Rising. Thank you for being here with me. And I'll speak to you soon for that new moon in Taurus, which will be something like a beautiful seed. I look forward to it.